Hello, this is Fear Dragon, and welcome to Breaking Out, the show about North American StarCraft 2 players. Every Friday and Saturday, we'll take a look at an up-and-coming North American player to learn more about their personality and their playstyle. Over 4 weeks, we'll take a look at 8 players before they participate in the Breakout Invitational for over $1,000. Let's learn a little bit about the next Breakout player. Hello everyone, welcome to Breaking Out, the show about North American StarCraft 2 players that you need to know about. Today on the show, we're going to be having our very special guest, Mark ElhayM Leonardo. I know it's probably not actually pronounced Leonardo, but that's one of the Ninja Turtles, so we're going to go with it. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing okay, man, and it is pronounced Leonardo, so it's all good.
Oh my god, you're already a Ninja Turtle. Okay, well, you're clearly winning favor in my book right now. For those of you who don't know, you guys won't have actually seen the application video. It's something that we're kind of cutting out. We're mixing with the format a little bit, trying to improve and make this show a little bit more interesting, but you did say something very, very interesting. You're reigniting your passion in StarCraft by playing less. Could you explain what the heck you meant by that? Because that seems like very opposite. If you're trying to get into StarCraft, you're playing less.
Yeah, so basically I am playing less because I'd rather focus my time more on real life things. And because I'm focusing more on real life things, I don't have to worry about them. And since I don't have to worry about anything in real life, I can just focus more on StarCraft. I don't have to worry about everything around me because I'm usually very distracted by doctor's appointments, schoolwork, and all that type of thing. If I clear that and get that out of the way, because I'm doing that, my StarCraft play becomes a lot better. If I'm doing better, then obviously I feel a lot better about myself. It's obviously very opposite to what most players would think because obviously if you play a lot, you're going to improve. I obviously don't feel like I'm at the very highest skill ceiling right now, but if I'm not playing as much and I can play at my best, I'm very happy and content with that, as opposed to just like forcing myself to grind it out and try and improve that way.
So would you say that it's your mental blocks in maybe having a negative mindset sometimes because you've kind of been delving too much into StarCraft? You mentioned your application video saying like 7, 8, 10 hours of playing the game continuously, and that kind of hurt your mindset where you wouldn't really factor in losses. Like you would lose games and just shrug it off because you've been playing for 10 hours. So would you say that that kind of mindset is more what's holding you back rather than just improving mechanics or anything else?
So basically what I feel about just my mentality is like my mentality is really bad. I've known to have like a very bad mentality back on like Clarity right now in F3. Like I've talked to a lot of people about my mentality and just how bad I am at it. Because of that mentality, I feel like I can improve, and it's actually showing because I actually don't watch any StarCraft that like too much at all. Like I've pretty much said this in all the other applications that I've sent in for Breaking Out, right? Because I don't watch too much and I don't really take it to the next level, I just want to cap out at where I'm at, and I just want to see where that can take me.
And that just goes back to sort of the mindset thing that you've been working on for a while then. And I
Yeah,
guess
exactly.
focusing on real life, and you mentioned dealing with those issues, and by solving them, you're just a happier person in general, it sounds like.
Yeah, like a couple of problems that happen in real life, like it's not really like doctor appointments and all that, but it's like mostly just satisfying basic conditions that human beings really need. Like you need to have sleep, you need to drink water, you need to eat. If I'm used to sitting here in this chair, if it's not the right height at a LAN or something, I'm gonna play terribly. If I'm not using the same monitor, if I'm not using my peripherals and all that, like all those very tiny things that shouldn't matter to a player affect me more than anything, which is kind of a disadvantage in my opinion.
So let's transition and talk a little bit about your Terran versus Zerg, because the way that you described your playstyle actually in the application video was reactionary and adaptive. But you said different people would give different answers if I asked them how you played. And that's actually very true. I've heard some players tell me, oh, ElhayM, he likes to all in a lot. I've heard some players be like, ElhayM, yeah, he only macros. Why is there this big confusion about how you play?
It's kind of how I feel during the day. Like in Terran for Zerg specifically, there's on and off days. Like there's days where I completely just hate Zerg. Like I rant about Zerg the most, more than Protoss. I just can't find the consistency within me, which is why like the very little things in my life affect me so much.
I see. So what you're saying is you have some trouble being consistent, you especially in TVZ. So would you say that this is your worst matchup?
I would actually also say that this is my best matchup. It's my best and worst matchup. Like everything is like my best and worst matchup in my opinion. It just really depends on the time of day.
Would you say then that it is not actually so much dependent on your opponent so much as it is just dependent on you and your sort of internal struggle with feeling like it's a good day for StarCraft?
Yeah, it's definitely that. If I try my best to reduce that, to just like satisfy all these conditions, because I really can't help it, I need to do it. There's days where I actually have tried to condition myself and just try playing differently in terms of like my chair height. I didn't drink water or something like that because it'll affect you at lands as well, right? Like if you have to play a match immediately to go and do it, like you can't just stall and wait for time, all that. Right.
Yeah. Moving back a bit, more focused toward Terran versus Zerg, how do you play in the matchup? What is your actual play style in the matchup?
Like you said, everyone has very mixed opinions of me, but I do like to macro in that matchup. I feel like my mechanics are good enough to be able to overwhelm my opponent, and my multitasking is actually very strong. A lot of players say that my multitasking is my strongest point, and I kind of agree with that. I don't think my macro is my strongest point in pretty much any matchup. It's just that I like to play really fast and just try and outmaneuver my opponent by like doing a bunch of drops, being really hyper aggressive and coin flippy, even though majority of time I lose a couple of drops because I don't manage them properly. But over time, I've become a lot more efficient with my dropping. I'm not as good as super top tier Terrans, obviously, and sometimes I do the really stupidest stuff. But I mean, that's how you learn through your losses, right?
You actually just described your playstyle in using a very interesting term, a term that most people would be very hesitant to describe themselves as, and that's coin flippy. Usually you're only on like the receiving end of that, and you're not actually dishing that out to yourself. What do you mean by like you feel like you play coin flippy?
I feel like I do take a lot of risks because, for example, one of your players like Kellizer said if you don't take risks, you're not gonna get anywhere. But there's obviously a difference between like calculated percentage risks as opposed to just doing it, and I'm just the person who does it. Like I would really describe my playstyle as I don't care, I'm just gonna do whatever. Like I feel like if I feel like doing this, I'm gonna do it. Yeah, that's how I feel about my playstyle in general.
Do you feel like that factors into the inconsistency that you end up feeling? Maybe it's not just how you felt that day, it has to do with some days it works and, some days it just won't.
In general, like I feel that that type of play affects different players because some players don't check certain spots or something like that. They skip a corner, and obviously I get very lucky, which is why I consider it very coin flippy. Depending on the player, my style is either very good or very bad against them. It's part of the reason why I'm very inconsistent. To relieve that consistency, I do believe in like watching watching StarCraft a lot, but I just don't really do it, so I don't really try and emulate Korean pros as much as I really should.
So if you had to describe yourself as having one strength and one weakness in the matchup, what would those two things be?
My strength is, I would say it is my multitasking, and my weakness is probably my macro.
Well, we're going to check out your Terran versus Zerg. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere.
It's game time! Terran versus Zerg.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Terran versus Zerg. I'm joined here by my very special guest, Master Dulk. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing alright. I'm excited for some StarCraft. It's been about a week since I've gotten to do some StarCraft, but that was Eastern Canada. Here today, though, I get to do some Western Canadian StarCraft, and I'm excited for it.
Of course, I would bring the Canadian on for the Canadian player, but let's go ahead and jump in and introduce that player. Spawned down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, we have the red Terran player representing Team Flipside. It is ElhayM.
And over on the top right, we have our blue Zerg player representing Clan AG. He appeared to be your Grandmaster when we had loaded into this replay, so I'm going to assume he has some ability to play this game. He is Nitix, or Nitix. Some variation upon the form of the name. But, Fear Dragon, you were telling me before this game that ElhayM, he has a very special relation to this matchup.
Yeah, he has complained quite a bit about this matchup, but honestly, he also said that in general, he feels like any matchup, any one of the 3 matchups could be his best or worst matchup, just depending on what day it is. So it's really hard to tell which ElhayM we're going to see. But ElhayM, he did say, like, this matchup in particular, he likes to play it a little bit more aggressively. Probably going to try and steer it also a little bit more macro-oriented, so I'm expecting to see a lot of drops. I know that from my own experience, when I think of ElhayM, I think of drop play.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Every time I've seen ElhayM, when I've casted him as well, he's always gone for those drops, trying to distract his opponent with a lot of different attacks all over the place and split him up.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we are going to be seeing just a CC first coming out of ElhayM, so already looking to be a little bit more on the greedy side, looking to try and bring this out to the later stage of the game. But I mean, it is Deadwing, so who can really fault him?
And plus also, well, he doesn't know this yet, but we know this as observers, omnipotent observers upon this map, that it is cross as well, so the distance is a bit longer, and he will be a bit more safe than he would be if it was vertical.
Yeah, definitely. He is going to be up against a gas opening, though, from Nitix. So Nitix is going to have enough gas relatively soon for that Zergling speed. There are still some kinds of forms of pressure that Nitix can try and put on ElhayM, try and punish him a little bit. Especially considering, take a look at what ElhayM is doing. He hasn't thrown down any supply depots over at his ramp. He's not going to have any sort of wall-off coming up. And this could actually, I mean, some Zerglings could theoretically get by.
They could, but, you know, as we were talking a bit earlier, this is Deadwing, and ElhayM, he does like to play a bit aggressive, but to get to that stage where he can be aggressive, you know, you do have to cut some corners, so I guess this is going to be one of them. He is going to be building a factory right away down at his main base ramp, and he is at least building a bunker as natural, so if you do get some Marines in there. And, yep, I was going to say, he's going to be dropping down some supply depots at the natural instead. Though, of course, there is the debris off on the side, so unless he puts something there, it's very possible that Zerglings could try taking that down and entering in right away.
Indeed. SCV going to be moving in and trying to get a scout off just to see what his opponent's up to. And Nitix tried to use the Overlord, scouting that SCV to try and pick it off nice and early on. He does manage to get a pick off before ElhayM sees Zergling speed or any gas being mined or anything like that. So it's a nice little win for Nitix.
Metabolic Boost is finishing up right now.
Oh my god.
But we don't have a lot of Zerglings in the production tab. It's actually drones right now.
Yeah, that's almost a bit of a missed opportunity, because look at how greedy ElhayM is playing. He's just saying, oh, let's go through the 3cc. Let's just throw it down in your face, because you know what? I want to be able to float that over immediately. I don't want to have to float it over from my main base. That's too long of a distance. Let's ignore the fact that this is unbelievably brazen to just do in front of your opponent.
Yeah. Well, we've got a third hatchery on the way down for Nitix right now, and we do have a Roach Warren and a few more Zerglings in the production tab, though. So, with the Roaches, you know, even if he won't be able to get a attack in very early, he'll at least have a bit of a stronger force going in towards the mid-game, especially since, you know, Terrans, they like the Hellions, they like bringing in the fire versus the Zerg, and that ElhayM's going to be doing just that. So having some Roaches out, probably a good thing.
Yep, ElhayM just tagging those Zelnaga Watchtowers, trying to seize up whatever map control he can get before he starts to push on in. There's only one Queen over at the front and a handful of Zerglings, so these Hellions may actually be able to do a little bit of damage, at least start picking off some of the Zerglings for the reinforcing waves of Hellions.
Yep. And it looks like gonna try to get us around, but not gonna be able to too well, and we do now have 4 Hellions as the second pair gonna be joining up with the first. So those Zerglings, they didn't really get much done, but the Hellions didn't get much done either, so it does even it out. And Nitix, he does now have his third hatchery up, and we'll see if he's going to throw down a Spine Crawler.
Yeah.
I'd assume that he wouldn't be, as he does have the Roach Warren finished now, so getting some Roaches out, probably a better choice than throwing down static defense right now.
Yeah, I mean, just based on the fact that there's also more drones coming out, the Roaches are really just defensive Roaches, sort of a very, very safe style to go for Roaches against the Hellion opening. You're really just saying, like, I don't want any chance that the Hellions will be able to do damage over here. So it's a big investment for Nitix, and it's really delayed things, like, for example, having enough gas to go for a nice and early lair, but he's going to finally get up that lair, and it doesn't look like ElhayM's going to try and do too much to punish it, but there are these Zerglings that are running by over to the natural in the third.
But there is the wall up at the natural, and with that bunker, those Zerglings aren't going to be able to do too much. Did only really get one Zergling, but... Or one SAV, and Hellions coming in towards the third base. Oh, drones lining up so well. Though these Hellions, they're just orange flame with not many upgrades, and though they will still be able to get 12 workers, and they're still alive moving in towards the natural. Let's see how many more they can get. The drones actually trying to attack some of the Hellions will allow a body block to go on. 23 workers killed in total by ElhayM.
Yeah, the only thing that could have gone better there is if that final Hellion managed to make it into the main base and saw that all the gas geysers were being taken, so they could confirm the Mutalist transition incoming, because, oh my god, he did a lot of damage over there. Not only is he up on workers, but he's a 3cc Terran player. I've seen 3cc Terran players be ahead / get further ahead of Zerg players when they're behind on workers. When they're ahead on workers and they have 3cc, like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. And plus also with those Hellion attacks, you know, we did have the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th gases taken at the 2nd and 3rd bases, but those Hellions, they prevented some gas from being mined, and that was a good 30 seconds of no gas being mined at the 3rd base and about 20 at the 2nd. So that's even less gas going into the Mulist transition, and I feel like seeing that there are gases at the 2nd and 3rd base, you can probably guess that a Spire is going to be on the way, or something very gas intensive. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do start seeing a lot of anti-air defense coming in.
Yeah, we already got the Widow Mine started, as you were kind of saying. Like, the anti-air defense going to be coming out. The armory is actually finished up as well. So with the extra factory popping out, he might go for a tech lab, might start getting out some Thors. But for now, he's going to be putting on a little bit of pressure. I mean, one really nice way to keep the Mutals at home is you just actually go for drop play. And if the Mutals are out on the map trying to harass, your drops are just doing tons of damage because there's no anti-air to kill the medevacs off.
Yep, and right now he's going to be coming onto creep. Will scan only a handful of Zerglings here, though the Bailings are kind of coming in a bit slow. Let's see, we'll be able to pick up and fly away. And, you know, I have to say, without the centrifugal hooks, that's really costing Nitix right now, as those Bailings, they're just not able to get in. They're waddling so slowly, and it took so long for them to even appear on screen of the fight.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, again, the really great target fire coming down from ElhayM. Let's see if he's going to try and go for it again. He is! Oh my god! Picks up another couple, only loses a single Marine over there. This is actually brutal to watch. I feel bad for Nitix right now.
And we've got Widowmines going to be coming in. It looks like they will be able to get killed off, but they were enough of a distraction to prevent the Bailings from getting in close. The Zerglings are trying to get us around on the Marines. A few of them will be going down, but they will get picked off. And over in the main, we've got some more Marines. They will get cleaned up. Not too much damage done over there in the main. And right now, there's only about 3 Marines left, actually. But we also have a drop trying to come in towards the 3rd. Mulists are out now, so we'll be giving chase to these medevacs.
Yeah, they're finally going to be shutting down a little bit of this aggression, but the Mutal is actually engaging against the Marines. The 1-1 Marines killing off those Mutals over the 3rd. Oh, a great win. And ElhayM is just poking in from every single angle. Unfortunately, he only has a single Marine left over in one of these medevacs, so it looks like the drop in the main base is going to be cleaned up. But, I mean, again, another reinforcing wave of aggression. ElhayM is just relentless with this. It's a parade push where the parade isn't all going in the same place. They're just going down every which way in every single street.
Amazing Widowmine shots come off here for ElhayM, and he's going to be able to lower down a lot of the Zergling count, and now he's got a lot of damaged Marines, but even though they have a lot of health missing, they're still going to be able to push forward. There is not too much in terms of arming right now for Nitix, as it's all over the place, and Bailing's going to get taken out right away by ElhayM. Very well done, but, oh, never mind, it looks like Mulus is going to be able to back off before the Widowmines get a shot off.
Yeah, nice kind of baiting with the Zerglings on those Widow Mines, make sure he doesn't take too much damage later on. But I've got to say, ElhayM, he's just been so on top of focus firing down those Bailings. I can't even think of a single really solid Bailing hit that's ever landed, even on creep.
Oh, yep, and right now we've got Medevac going up towards the main, and more units going to be coming across the middle, trying to zone out our Zerg opponent on the creep there.
Yep, ElhayM sitting on 2-2 versus the 2-2 of the Zerg player, so at least the 2 players are staying even on those upgrades. But with the drop coming in the main base, the Beetle's gonna be over there to try and clean that up. That should be fine, but I mean, this harassment over by the 3rd is still doing a lot of damage, and it doesn't look like Nitix is really gonna be able to do a lot to clean up. He loses a lot of drones there as well.
Yeah, 38 workers killed in total right now, and a lot of the Balings did go down to those Widow Mines, so there's not much left of them to clean up whatever's left of the Marine Force right now. The Mulus count, though, is starting to get a lot higher, and even just engaging with Marines isn't that bad of an idea anymore. He will be able to clean up what's left at the third base, but meanwhile, in the main, there's still Marines attacking all of these drones. Zerglings are trying to come in here to kill them off, but 45 now in total. 229 units killed by ElhayM at the moment.
Yeah, this game, since the first moment where ElhayM started doing that Hellion aggression, I think there was maybe like a minute-long period of calmness in between, and then ElhayM just said, well, it's time to be in a constant state of engagement with the Zerg player for the entire rest of the game, with maybe like 10 to 15 second calm periods. But again, he's putting pressure on the third, and he's doing a lot of damage over here again.
And, you know, having this constant aggression, it's preventing our Zerg player from being able to secure this fourth base, keep his third base as well, as right now, you know, he may have those 4 hatcheries, but they're not really all actually being efficient. They're just kind of there providing larvae. That has to go into more units so that he can defend himself, so that he can eventually get drones, but he's not being able to start the beginning of the cycle.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even if one of these bases wasn't constantly under aggression, he could actually effectively mine from it. I don't even know if he has the drone count anymore to mine from all 4 of those bases. The Mutile's now only remaining defense against these Marines. The Marines are starting to move on in, and actually starting to pick off some of these creep tumors as well. This is only going to make it easier for ElhayM to start to push in.
Yep, and, you know, as you're saying, you don't even...
Ooh,
47
no
workers at the moment. Oh, Bailing's coming in, but ElhayM is trying to run. The stim not going to be able to do too much. Bailings, they're going to be able to clean up a lot, and I don't know how life manages with this style. GG comes out from Nitix.
Oh.
ElhayM just constantly pushing on the aggression, and, you know, at the end of that game, he was up almost 20 workers.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's like, it's exactly what he was saying. He prefers to be aggressive, and this is what we were talking about, because I know we've seen a decent chunk of ElhayM through our qualifiers and stuff, and this is what we meant when we said ElhayM loves his drop play. I know that ElhayM during the interview just said, like, a lot of people will characterize him as doing different things. Some people will say, like, oh, he's a macro-oriented player. Some people will say he cheeses and all-ins all the time. But one thing I will say that I think, I've also asked him in the interview, and he's kind of agreed with it, is drop play is definitely something that you can think about when you start thinking about ElhayM. So we kind of got to see a little bit of that here today. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be going back to the interview. Don't go anywhere. Hope you guys enjoyed that Terran versus Zerg. I'm back here with ElhayM, and we're going to be going over the replay you sent in, man. So tell us, what was going on in this game?
So basically, in this replay, I went for pretty much standard 14 command center, 3rd command center, and just pretty much tried to macro my way out of the game using my mechanics to the best of my ability. Yeah, I just I try to find like holes in my opponent's defense where I could potentially drop, run by, just swing my army here and there, because Terran vs Zerg is all about swinging, and depending on where you swing and how you abuse terrain and stuff like that, Terran can get an edge if they abuse it properly. And I felt like I did some of that this game. Here, on the right hand side with my Hellions, well, we see that. Well, okay, we're moving out with our 3rd command center here, and we finally land it. And here with the Hellions, moving to the 3rd, we see that there's creep. I'm trying to deny creep here, but now, as we see here, at my 3rd, he sent his Zerglings in, and I would obviously call this a coin flip because I'm I'm that type of person to just complain about, like, why are you doing this type of thing? But obviously this is a correct move, because during this time the Zerg knows that the Terran wants to try and deny creep, and as a response it's totally okay to send the Zerglings to try and deny a very quick 3rd being taken, which is what I was doing, because normally you want to take your 3rd around 9 to 10 minutes in the game, but I took it actually relatively early. Because I felt that the Hellions were enough pressure to be able to take the expansion. But since my opponent did that, as a response, I actually just I move in. So like, I felt like if you coin flip me, I'm gonna coin flip you, type of thing. And as a result, if you see in the workers lost tab, I kill a lot more drones than I really could have. And That's pretty much for a trade with the 3rd command center and 1 SCV. So basically here, when I'm moving out, you want to be careful of just Zergling counterattacks. This is why I'm kind of following the Zerglings around, since it was in my vision. But now I hit the watchtower here, but I don't see it anymore. So my main focus here is to basically deny creep while moving out my units, and at the same time securing my wall here and making sure my units are pretty much hugged together so that a run by doesn't do too much. A player that does this and is very meticulous about it is Innovation, where he literally just rallies all his units to one one depot, and puts that depot down so all the units hug together. And then if a run by ever happens, the units are there and you don't have to worry about it as much as if there's a huge space available. So if you see here, right now there was a small run by. Obviously, it wasn't very perfect in terms of the wall, but it was definitely enough for units to be positioned there in order to prevent this counterattack from doing fatal damage. And at the same time, if you see at the Zerg's third, I'm doing the pushing, like parade pushing that everyone talks about in this matchup. So okay, when I push onto creep here, basically the objective is to always keep pushing into the Zerg opponent's base, because if you push with medevacs away from the Zerg opponent, your Zerg opponent could actually just all in you. There have been a lot of games where, me personally, I haven't seen too much from Koreans because they probably execute this a lot better than I do. Where your first 4 medevacs is pretty much the only window for Terran to be doing things. This is something that Kawairis has actually taught me. So it's really important for the Terran to be very active with your first 2 to 4 medevacs. I'm not sure if I did it this replay, but you want to be active with these medevacs to either just harass the front and just clear creep, or just catch your Zerg opponent off guard in certain positions. So here, if you look, I actually boost forward into a different position. I didn't boost to here. I didn't want to boost into the main because I wasn't too sure of Aspire and everything like that. But in this case, it's actually okay because my opponent actually did make roaches and quite a number of banelings, so I could have actually done that. In that case, it was a coin flip, but I did have that coin flip advantage earlier where I just ran in and killed like 23 drones, right? So I felt like I was in a safe spot where I could have done that, but I just wanted to play a little safer that way. Okay, so here, there's this force pushing out, and these 2 medevacs are coming. So basically, I'm syncing up with these medevac timings, where I'm pushing this medevac into the main, and at the same time, these 2 medevacs here are pushing with this little force to clear up creep. And basically, as the Terran player, you want to be on the aggressive and just putting your opponent on their toes, pretty much. And behind all that, you want to be taking expansions, taking your upgrades. That's pretty much what you want to be doing back and forth with the game. And it's I call the method like swinging, because you're doing different types of different like huge movements, because obviously this is a huge chunk of your army. This is also a huge chunk of your army, because like if you look on the map, there's not really much coming from my 3rd base. There's not too many Marines there, but since I'm swinging my Zerg opponent from left and like in opposite directions, even though he actually was in a good position to be able to defend. It's pretty much about picking your opponent apart in places where they are exposed. So in this case, since I'm pulling his army towards in the middle, I can pull towards. I can do an attack in his main, which is what I did. But obviously, he's fairly well defended, so it's up to the Terran player to decide what to do. And in this case, I did a drop, but I just split it up so that the Marines would take extra fire and it wouldn't be clumped up for the banelings to hit, and thus making it a little more efficient. Because obviously when you do these types of exchanges, you want to be very efficient with how you move your army, and it's pretty much how much you keep your army alive and how effective you use it. What I like to do a lot is basically I try my best to pick up individual Marines here and there so that I can maximize the value of my medevacs, because obviously over time, If you maximize your value of your army, you don't have to actually make the unit again because you do have a medevac, and that'll obviously cut into how fast you take your fourth, having extra production and all that, right? Because everything adds up in the end. It's just that most of the time it doesn't seem relevant, but of course, if you try and make it relevant, it's very good for you.
All right, well, thank you very much, ElhayM. We're going to be going back to the interview segment, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.